Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And today we are talking about a show which I have never seen, Bridgerton. Have you watched the new season, Samantha?
I watched the first half because they split the season, annoyingly so, and then had a month break and then released the other half. I don't know why. Something with the fact that they changed over the showrunner, and the showrunner may have not handled the season very well. That's what I'm getting from me as just a very lightly watching out and then moving on. Because the first season I really did enjoy, but then I was like, yeah, okay. Kind of how I do with a lot of dramas when it gets too repetitive in my mind that I'm like, and I'm done. Because it was new at first. But I do love some of the actors on there, including one I know you're about to talk about, Nicola Coughlan, who is fantastic in every interview I've seen her do. And apparently really great in Dairy Girls, which I haven't seen. Yep. I have not seen.
I haven't seen it either, but it has long been on my watch list. And it's a show that people tell me they're always like, you would love that show. And I believe it.
Yeah.
I am in a strange place where I never watched Bridgerton, but there's a lot of new content that I've watched the first couple seasons of and I love. I don't know. Right now I'm like, I need my space. Let me watch my bad horror movie that I don't really have to invest in.
Right.
That's just where I am right now. I know I'll watch it eventually, but
it's the mood. Yeah. So you get into the mood and you're like, okay. Because I said, I did watch the first half and I was like, okay. And then it kind of quote unquote cliffhanger and things are going to go awry with a lot of revelations in this one. But still, because the over the top, maybe I've just been so inundated with the content with people's criticisms and predictions that I'm like, I'll wait.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I have so many thoughts about that. I may or may not have written an essay about how social media is really impacting our entertainment consumption. Because I write essays when I'm stressed, Samantha.
Correct. All right. I was like, is this being published? Oh, okay. This is your personal collection.
Is just me trying to work things out. I have a whole folder filled with essays that no one will ever read.
Is this one of the things I have to delete just in later down the road if I find it?
It might make some people mad, but they'll move on quickly because of social media. Sorry, that's a different topic. So I don't know, as someone who's never interacted with this media, I'm going to say spoilers just in case. But
just in case.
I don't know. But if you're really I do not want any spoilers and you don't know what happens, maybe wait on this one. And content warning for fat phobia. So we are a bit behind the times here, but as I've mentioned recently, I got to go on a trip with some friends and they were talking all about Bridgerton. And this came up. I hadn't heard about it. And I was like, wait, what? And so here we are. So in the newest season of the Netflix show Bridgerton, Penelope Featherington, played by Nicola Coughlan, and Colin Bridgerton, played by Luke Newton, have sparked some romance. Their ship name is Pollen. I guess that's how you say that. And them getting together is something that a lot of folks have been looking forward to. And throughout this process, Coughlan has dealt with a lot of fat shaming and just overall body shaming, especially when compared to Newton. From The Independent, quote, "There's been a bizarre fixation on the latter's body type, Coughlan, in general, ranging from a Guardian article calling her a little bit fat and a lot hot to downright poisonous Spectator article that stated, as if it were fact, that Coughlan is not hot and that the idea of a fat girl who wins the prince wasn't remotely plausible." I will say others have also said she doesn't really even qualify as plus size in real life. I feel like that's kind of other territory, but basically they're like, she still's not really plus size and you're making these comments.
Right. I think more than anything, she's just shorter. She's a shorter person. And in the series, again, I'm not going to vouch for the books because I have never read the books. And I know many people who are diehard for the books. We've also had criticisms And I got criticized for watching that first season and when we talked about it because there is that conversation of rape with the male lead. So all of that is very, very legitimate. And I hear y'all, we hear you, we know this. But I think in one of the ways that they did change and flip some of the narrative, especially for a period piece such as this, is having Nicola Coughlan being a main character and being seen as a leading lady, even though people were like, what is going on? And seeing this as revolutionary, which again is annoying. And maybe the main fact within the movies and the show itself, they don't reference her body at all. Maybe I missed some parts. Maybe it's been a long time. I don't remember any real fat shaming in the conversation. I don't like they were more shaming her outfits because her mom is over the top with the colors and everybody would like, oh, look at them. They're wearing orange to this, like everybody else wearing light green and whites. And the mother really loved very bright neon colors, which she hates, like the character of Penelope hates. And a part of her like new being out, trying to find a husband, is her being able to choose her own colors and outfits and really standing out. Like her welcome outfit was her being in a very beautiful emerald green dress. So like none of the shame factor has been based on her body in the show, as where, you know, sometimes there's a token and that's the center of the conversation and the jokes and the plot. That's not been a thing. So from the series in itself, that's not a concern. It's literally been everybody else. And I know, like, in these conversations about this, she has outright said, it kind of ignored all of that and just being like, I know I've got the best breast. And yes. It's like, absolutely. Yes, girl, you do. Amazing. Show them off. But like that's not in the show, but it's always a constant conversation for outside of that.
Yes. And it really blew up recently, that conversation did. Soon after the release of the show, when activist and author Virgie Tovar wrote a piece for Forbes titled, Bridgerton, Are We Still Not Ready for a Mixed Weight Romance on Screen? Okay, so as you can imagine, people had a lot of thoughts. So...
Like, what the hell? Like, that title, as if implying, like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
That's not a genre.
We're gonna break it down, but somebody did respond and was like, aren't we all mixed weight couples?
Right. Even if they're all both getting your mixed weight, whether it's one's like over the top, like weightlifting, and the other one it has like perfect slim body. Like what? Oh,
yes. And I will say, I read the article and somebody else that wasn't me said, really what is missing here was for women, because it's like the article's not bad and it has a lot of good points, but the title, and that's what everybody saw and was like, what? So I feel like there just could have been better wording. Wording. So here's a quote from the article. For some, this romance is unsettling because it forces them to consider that humans are simply not governed by tidy, predictable rules. If this romance upsets you, it says more about how deeply you've internalized fat phobia than it says about the bodies of the actors playing Penelope and Colin. And I just want to say also, mixed weight. This is not the first time that has been used either.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's been around for a minute. And I read an article about why, like, the need for something to describe when you're in like a major weight difference in your relationship and that not existing yet. So I don't want to negate that conversation. And there's a lot of argument and disagreement about that. Mixed weight was like, in one of the articles I read was like, they knew it wasn't that great, but they wanted something better and they didn't really have it. So
that's what I imagined, but why even term it?
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of conversation around it. And yeah, I mean, it sounds, at first you're like, oh, okay, sure. But when you think about it for like 2 seconds, almost every popular sitcom in recent memory has featured a bigger, usually beer-bellied man and a smaller, thinner wife. Just a few examples off the top of my head. You've got King of Queens, you've got Family Guy, you've got The Simpsons, Here's a quote from The Independent. In the 90s, it was seen as nothing but totally reasonable that larger-than-life John Candy would fall in love with the slender Ally Sheedy in Only the Lonely, while in the noughties, Will Ferrell regularly bared his furry, untoned dad bod in comedies that saw him bed some of the world's most beautiful women: Nicole Kidman, Christina Applegate, Eva Mendes, Rachel McAdams. Need I go on? Around the same time, a portly young Jonah Hill wasn't spurned in his insulting and clumsy advances towards Emma Stone's slim girl-next-door character in Superbad. In fact, it's part of a wider trope that sees distinctly average-looking men paired with Hollywood sirens, this apparently being realistic, while the reverse is implausible. Think Jason Segel films in which no suspension of disbelief is required to accept that Mila Kunis, Kristen Bell, Cameron Diaz, and Katherine Heigl would be his romantic equal. Think Jack Black bagging Shannon Sossamon and Kate Winslet in The Holiday. There are entire movies, such as She's Out of My League, based around this very premise. Yeah. Also, others pointed out we don't use mixed height or mixed hair or things like that.
Like, it's such an odd conversation because, again, it's the perfectly paired weighted, meaning like they both weigh the same amount? Like, is that what we're saying? So if there's like a 50-pound difference, that's mixed weight, nah?
Mm-hmm.
Like if the dude is 180 pounds and the girl is 120 pounds, is that not mixed weight? Also, if the dude is 160 and the woman is 155, still.
Right. Yeah. And height just, it plays a difference. There's so many things that plays a difference.
This doesn't make sense. But I hear they're trying to say like something positive, been like, you need to get over your fat phobic self. I get that, but that term is unnecessary.
I also want to say, I think this is a salient point from The Independent. It's something we've talked about before, but also Nicola Coughlan is beautiful. Like
gorgeous.
Like, because all of these women are like white and thin, right? But Nicola Coughlan also beautiful. I don't think that's what they were saying, but I just want to add that in case it wasn't clear.
Like the fact that she is a different weight at standard than everybody else and still not overweight. Let's be honest. That's enough for people to disqualify her as the lead of anything and disqualify her of being with a good-looking dude who is also technically, yes, in this segment of the series, yes, they are the lead because they highlight typically within, they are the lead, but previously they were not. So even before then, were they not, like how they were. Like it doesn't make sense. Why couldn't they? And they have a built-up relationship. And then he's like, they shame him for whatever reason, but there's no implication of what reason other than maybe like the family is being seen as being silly or without money, or the father had died gambling and then incurred this huge amount of debt and they were in trouble. Like they were going to be really poor and cast out of society. So that was the whispers more than anything else. And like, it's such an odd, of course, she is the main character. She is, if you haven't watched the first season, Mrs. Whistledown, who is the whole reason for all the plot, essentially.
Yes. And so, again, a lot of people had a lot of thoughts about this. Here's a quote from CNN. Writer and critic Zoe Rose Bryant shared on X, "I find it interesting how there are countless fictional couples in film and television where the man weighs more than the woman, but people didn't start writing articles about whatever the a mixed weight romance is until it was the other way around." The Independent article I quoted earlier said that the article was, like nuanced, but the title should have been, "Are we still not ready for a mixed weight romance on screen where the woman is fat?" Which is what I was mentioning earlier. Tovar has responded to all of this and said that she thinks this conversation is important and wants to hear from those that disagree with her. Meanwhile, yes, like you said, Coughlan has been open about the fact she is aware of the conversation surrounding her body and that she pushed for certain lines and scenes based off of it, including a scene where she is naked. Quote, "It just felt like the biggest f*** you to all the conversation surrounding my body. It was amazingly empowering." And To go back to the quote that you mentioned, we should say it all because it's so great. So I believe it was a fan. Somebody basically quoted her saying they said she was brave for existing, essentially. And she responded, it is hard because I think women with my body type, women with perfect breast, don't see ourselves on screen enough. I am very proud as a member of the perfect breast community. I hope you enjoy seeing them. So good.
Which is a great clapback. And, again, thinking about this conversation did not start until, because she, like I said, even though it didn't always feature her as the leading lady, she's been the leading lady. She has been Whistledown, and that's been the big reveal. She's been like the catalyst in this whole series. It wasn't until she was paired up with a dude that she started getting critiques. Mm-hmm. And from what I gather, there was a lot that was cut when it comes to the intimate scenes. And again, kind of that showrunner, who's a new showrunner, may have like fallen prey to the conversations and criticisms, to a lot of people's disappointments.
Yeah, because so many people were, like I said, wanted this couple to be together. Yes. We're excited to see it.
They want it in real life, to the detriment of his girlfriend today. Like his Luke Newton's real life girlfriends. Apparently they're good friends. Nicola Coughlan and the girlfriend are really good friends. Yes. But like they kind of harass her, being like, but you're not Nicola. Why are you on his arm? Like she had to hide, I think, at one point for the press. No. Not because of being harassed, but for the press to see how great Nicola and Luke were together.
I did read about that. And it was like right after the press tour was done, she like emerged. Came out. Yeah. But then he was like, actually, I have a girlfriend.
Right. And everybody's like, no, you're supposed to be. It's not true. We know you love Nicola.
Yes. Yeah, so people wanted it. We're, always talking about the need for more representation. People were loving it. And so I hope that that's not true, but I would definitely believe that it is, unfortunately. And also, to end on a bummer, when I was researching this, a lot of articles came up about women who were afraid the men in their life would leave them if they gained weight or didn't lose weight, and how it caused tensions in their relationship, or women feeling like they're being fat shamed by their partner and finding comfort in the label mixed weight just to see if others had the same experience. So like I was saying, I think there's like a term people need. It's just not maybe this one, but it's true. I mean, like if you think about all the talk we have about, losing the weight before the wedding, and I have definitely felt this when I've been in relationships. So this situation with Bridgerton, I think, is really highlighting something that a lot of us have experienced, and it's terrible. Because I thought I was going to go in and be like, yeah, fans can be terrible or whatever. The media is bad, or I don't know. And then I came out like, oh, damn, you're right. In my real life, that's true.
Right.
Oh. Yeah. Which I knew. It's not like it was a surprise. I think I wasn't expecting so many of those articles to come up when I was researching this specific thing.
Yeah.
But they did.
Yeah. And I think, again, like, when we talk about women and their bodies, if it's not used as the punchline, they're uncomfortable. Like seeing them in normal, real, or like romantic relationships, it makes people like, and I can't stand her as an actress, and I've definitely had problems with what she's done and said. But Lena Dunham, when she did her episode with her show, The Girls, and she was naked a lot, they're like, why do they have to throw it in my face? I don't need to see it. I'm like, bro, what? That's just a normal body. You say most of the people who are really critical are usually cis men, heterosexual cis men, are the ones who are like wanting to sleep with women, but you don't want to see a normal woman naked. And you're bothered by this. So what you're telling me, like, that like that, this level of conversation, that how being normal, like this was a very romantic, sweet, and like very like beautifully laid out romantic scenes from what I imagine with what Bridgerton usually does. And then like just having anything normal, if it's not the punchline, then why are people so like that's not that's a problem. We need to have that conversation why that's a problem for you.
Right. Or why it's unbelievable to you than it is the norm.
Right. When that's the average person you're going to see, dude, just calm the down.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we've both said, this was very specific topic-wise. Neither of us have seen the whole show. So we don't know. There might be I'm sure there are other issues we could discuss. But this was a very specific.
Issues. There's many issues.
Yes. Yes.
So we could discuss about this. Like we could talk about the fact that had this been a woman of color that was normal weight, the level of like hate and vitriol this would have gotten would have been 10 times worse. Like, but we're not going there because we know. But there's like, it just like headaches ensue.
Yes, headaches do ensue. But listeners, if you have seen it and there's something you think we should be talking about that we didn't, this was very specific, but please let us know. You can write to us at stuffmediamomstuff at iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at momstuffpodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.